Have you ever had a critical deadline and suddenly found yourself doing something completely different? I have an exhibition opening coming up in 5 days. My piece is all primed and it's ready to paint, but I really don't know how I want to paint it. This story focuses on what I learned about procrastination and creativity as I put off working on my sculpture. Spoiler alert, it's not what you think. And stay tuned to the end because I'm going to share some tips I'm going to use moving forward for procrastination, and they might be useful for you too. Now there's some urgency because I really want to get this piece into the show, and that's not going to happen if I don't get it done. I really didn't know how to paint it. I didn't know what colours I wanted to use, and I didn't know where I wanted to use them. And yes, my inner critic was starting to party. Like all normal people faced with an imminent deadline, it suddenly became extremely urgent to fix the lighting in my studio. The productivity gurus tell us that procrastination is the enemy of productivity, that it's all about masking stress and anxiety, where you trade off short-term gains with longer-term stress and guilt. But what I was about to discover was procrastination isn't always a bad thing, and sometimes it has a completely different purpose. In fairness to myself, my studio is actually pretty dark. There are no overhead lights, so any light source has to be plugged in. I've tried all of them, from lamps to studio lights to photography lights, and it's always been a bit of a nightmare getting enough light on my work so that I can paint. So it was definitely something that needed resolving. But right at that moment when I should have been painting, it 100% became totally necessary. I was procrastinating. Given the choice between working on my painting and hanging new lights in my studio, I consciously chose the lights. The light in here is so much better. I can't believe what a difference it's made. After that, I still didn't know how to resolve the work, and I was still afraid of starting before I knew. And then my brain started inventing really important things that I absolutely had to do rather than painting. So I ploughed on with hanging a photography backdrop that's been hanging around the studio waiting for me to do that for months. It's also really wonderful to have my photography roll up so that when I finish works, I actually have a large backdrop that I can take photos on. So that's really exciting. The last thing I'm going to do in this little studio update is I have a floating shelf that is drooping. It's very sad. It's been there for a while. I'm going to take it down and actually put a new shelf system up so that I have somewhere to store my inks and my drawing materials. So that's the last little upgrade I'm going to do to the studio for this round. I'm also looking at this corner of my studio, which I have been meaning to turn the desk around for a long time. So I might actually do that because I think that will really help with the look of the space. So currently the desk is here oriented this way. And what I want to do is to turn it around so it's oriented this way so it continues the line of my flat files. So I have a long bench all the way along here, and I think that will be a lot more practical. And this is the problem with starting to do work on the studio, is you suddenly realize all of the stuff that you want to do. So knowing when to stop is really important. And one of my challenges is that I am supposed to be painting. And so what I'm actually doing is procrastinating, but constructively, so it doesn't feel so bad. I'm constructively procrastinating. At least I'm not doom scrolling. Oh, and then the last thing I want to do is to actually have a good tidy up, because with all of the bits of work I've done in here over the last couple of days, it's got a bit chaotic. So I'm going to have a little tidy. Now, throughout this process, my inner critic kept offering me advice. And on the surface, she was right. I was procrastinating, except that she wasn't. And then suddenly, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I could see the vision in my mind of the finished work. I just needed to find the right shade of pink. And once I had that shade, I was off and running. Nothing could keep me from painting and finishing that work. I delivered and hung the work, and we had the opening. It was great, such great energy and a wonderful group of artists to exhibit with. But it left me wondering about procrastination and definitely made me question whether it's always a bad thing. The creative process has 4 stages. Preparation, where you get ready to start working. Incubation, where you actually go do something else and let everything simmer in the back of your mind. Illumination, where you suddenly have a creative insight into how you're going to complete the work. And verification, where the creative idea is actually subject to some sort of evaluation. So what I was actually doing during this studio upgrade process was incubation. Doing some sort of completely different task and allowing my subconscious mind and my imagination to go to work without being interfered with by my inner critic. Research has shown that while moderate procrastination definitely interferes with task efficiency, it also dramatically increases the creativity of the outcome. And it turns out I'm in very good company. Picasso had delayed working on the commission for the painting Guernica for many months. That mental space allowed him to approach the work in a completely different way. And the writer Margaret Atwood putters around distractedly in the mornings before settling down to work solidly on her writing in the afternoons. Now, this is not to say that procrastination is all good. There are times when it definitely does get in the way. But what if that was actually the result of allowing your inner critic to get to you, of listening and giving in when your inner critic tells you you've blown it? It's the stories that we tell ourselves that actually make the difference here. So in future, when I procrastinate, I'm going to try and do it more mindfully. And here are some of the things I'm going to try. 1, recognize when I'm procrastinating and make it an active and conscious choice. 2, forgive myself when I do it. Recognize that I'm blocked or I need a break. And don't listen to my inner critic when she tries to tell me otherwise. 3, when I'm procrastinating, do the things that foster mind wandering. So go for a walk, organize something, tidy something, do some cleaning, something active that leaves my mind free to wander and open myself up to that creative potential. 4, resist doom scrolling. I find that doom scrolling just fills my head with noise and does not give me any mental space to relax or process anything. And if I am irresistibly drawn to the screen, try looking at other artists' work or watching an inspirational video. 5, have a deadline. It definitely helped me that I had a deadline coming up with the exhibition in 5 days. A lot of people find making artificial deadlines really helps them. I'm not one of those people, but what I do find helps is telling someone else what I've committed to do. 6, trust myself. Trust that my creativity will get me through. Trust that taking a break and being unproductive does not define who I am as a person. It doesn't mean that I'm lazy, and it doesn't mean that I am blowing it. Now, if you've had experiences with creative procrastination, I would love to hear about them down below. So let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in more content on wrangling your inner critic and learning to trust yourself, I have another video for you, and I will link it down below. Please like and subscribe. I am slowly inching towards 250 subscribers, so please help me to reach that goal. I really appreciate the support. And in the meantime, take care and bye for now.